Hey everyone, it's Jamie from IndependenceStNola and from Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here to talk about this full moon total lunar eclipse that's happening in Taurus tomorrow, November 8th at 5:02 Central Standard Time, and that's my time. So let's jump right into it. So first things first, this is a total lunar eclipse, when earlier in eclipse season at the new moon we had a partial solar eclipse, but this is going to be a total eclipse. Again, this energy we will feel it 6 months out. Okay. What's interesting is that 6 months ago we had our eclipse, and during our eclipse season, that eclipse was also ruled by Venus, and this eclipse is ruled by Venus because it is in Taurus, and Taurus rules Venus. Venus is showing up as a full Venus still. And so this eclipse to me is, again, this idea of the divine feminine really starting to show up, really starting to take hold, really starting to ground in, because this eclipse is in Taurus, and Taurus is fixed earth. Taurus is grounding energy. Taurus is being practical, right? And I always see Taurus as being extremely creative. And I say that because it is ruled by the divine feminine, who is Venus. And Venus is creation. You know, that divine feminine energy is creation. So the moon will be at 16 degrees of Taurus. And then what makes it interesting is that Uranus, who is retrograde in Taurus, will also be at 16 degrees of Taurus. And the fact that this outer planet, Uranus, which has more energy, if you will, than our personal planets. Our personal planets are like, Venus, Mars, Mercury. Those are personal planets. And then the outer planets like Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Pluto, when they are involved, that's when change happens. And then, as we know, that Uranus is the planet of revolution and rebellion, but definitely revolution. And so Uranus and the moon are conjunct this day, right? And so to me, this is telling me that that Uranus is recalibrating the moon. It is recalibrating the moon, and so that we can start to ground in this idea of intuition, using our intuition, being more practical with it. A lot of times, when I talk with people, and I'm always like, do you trust your intuition? And they're like, no, because we have learned that it is not spooky, but we just haven't learned how to nurture it or how to use it exactly. But people will be like, yeah, I had that gut feeling or things like that, right? So I really feel like this moon, this eclipse, is helping us release those fears, because the moon can represent fears. So it's helping us release those fears, and it's helping us ground in this idea that we can use our intuition. It's also, to me, grounding in this idea that we cannot bring forward any old toxic patterns of toxic femininity, any toxic patterns from our mothers or what we experienced as a mom or from moms or other people's moms, or just the idea of mom. All of that is asking to be released right now. What we thought was nurturing, or how to nurture, if that doesn't vibrate with you, release that and allow this new idea, like these new ideas of nurturing, to be grounded in. Taurus is practical. That just kept coming in. This is like a practical eclipse, even though eclipses are, eclipses, as I say, they're wild magic, right? So the idea that you hold reverence for that things that will be eclipsed out, so new things could come in, and it happens fast, right? And I always feel like eclipses are here because I feel like they kind of give us previews. So like, this might need to be changed. This might need to change. And okay, are you working with it? And if no, they're like, fine, enough. We got to keep this ball rolling, right? And so they eclipse things out. Or as with the new moon, it eclipses things in. But it goes both ways. When things leave, things come in, and when things come in, that's because other things have left, right? Um, so, so just know this. And then also what's happening is that, I was going to talk about how how Taurus is, the lunar north node is also in Taurus. So I'll talk about that real fast. So it's important to also realize that, again, the lunar north node is in Taurus. And when the lunar north node is in a sign, that is what we are striving towards. Okay, so it is important to remember that what's happening with this eclipse is that Uranus is recalibrating this moon energy. And this moon energy is also like it is how we relate, how we talk. That's that feminine energy. Feminine energy likes to, that's the other thing that's coming through. How we can trust our feelings, like how we can use our feelings and ground that in. That just came to me actually right now. Thank you, Spirit. So, because a lot of times we're just so logical, this is important that we start to see how we can use our feelings and make it more practical. I hope that makes sense, because this is just kind of streaming in. So anyway, and so once we keep leaving that toxic femininity, toxic idea of what manipulation, all those things, once that keeps eclipsing out, we can start grounding in this new idea of how to trust our feelings, how to speak about our feelings, how to show up, how to nurture, right? Because this is all happening in Taurus, and Taurus is going to allow us to ground in this energy and ground in this information. In Taurus, in its higher vibration, because it is in that north node, will allow us to keep striving to make this a reality. There is a lot more going on. This is a really big eclipse. And I'll just touch on this briefly because I don't want you guys to get confused. On the same day, the Sun and Mercury are going to be conjunct, which means they're basically on top of each other mathematically, not actually. And so when the Sun and Mercury are conjunct, in the same time, they were going to be opposite of Uranus. Okay, so they're staring at Uranus. And they're talking about it, like, what's going on over there? And Uranus is like, hey, this is what's totally happening. And like, oh my God, that's awesome. How can I help you? So know that, like, it is that opposition is there to keep helping move this stuff through. Because on the same day, there is that fixed T-square. And that fixed T-square just means all the fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, and Scorpio are so many degrees apart, which looks like a T. And then to break that energy, you would bring in the other fixed sign, which is Leo. Okay, Leo to me is the consciousness of fire, right? Leo is love. Leo is also ruled by the sun, and like we just said, the sun is going to be opposite Uranus that day with Mercury side by side, right? So in order to break a lot of this tension, there's going to be a new way to speak about what's going on in your life, a new way to communicate how you feel with yourself. It's going to be a new way to show up and how to trust what you're feeling or what you're feeling moving forward, okay? Because like this full moon eclipse is about eclipsing things out. There was something else I was going to say really fast about. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Just using our intuition, but that's okay. Oh, well, that's okay. So it is still this idea. Maybe if I can start talking, it'll come back. It's still this idea of moving forward with how you want to be, how to ground this in, and to let go of what no longer serves you. But really, like, letting go those old ideas of what you thought nurturing was or nurturing was like. And also, I can't stress this enough. Because this is happening in Taurus, and Uranus is blasting the moon, recalibrating it, allowing this divine feminine energy to come up, because the moon is the divine feminine, Venus is the divine feminine, Venus rules Taurus, Taurus is the earth. It is really coming back home to where we need to be and how we need to nurture ourselves. That's what I was going to say. It is really coming back to how we need to nurture ourselves. And the more that we can trust ourselves, trust our intuition, see it as something that is practical, and we can use it like in a practical sense, right? Every day. I'd say we should be, but you know, we're getting there. This is to me what this full moon eclipse is about. 6 months ago, we had the eclipses, and it was also in Taurus. It was also ruled by Venus. You know, Venus was a full Venus before she went into Scorpio. So this really, to me, is this idea of us, all of us, no matter how we present, recalibrating this divine feminine in us and having her show up. The sun is over there. That sun represents our confidence. It rules Leo. Leo can be the ego, but Leo is confidence, right? And so we're burning away that lower ego and then really starting to show up with this new way of using our intuition and being practical and being nurturing and getting rid of the old idea of moms and just stuff that we don't need to bring forward with us anymore. That, you know, it's time for us to start writing this new story of us. I'm going to say really quick, Mars is still retrograde. When Mars is retrograde, we sometimes feel restless. If this is happening, I feel like this is because you're still looking outside, or we're still looking outside of ourselves in order to make things happen. With this full moon, it's important for us to keep seeing what we can see what we can do, and ask ourselves, what can I do in myself to make myself feel more grounded today? And what can I do with what's in front of me to make it better, instead of always asking for something else to come in or like to go out and meet. You know, this is all this feminine energy, and the feminine energy, you know, makes what's in front of us better. It nurtures what's here. So I hope that helps if you guys have been feeling a little restless. I know I have. So, well, I hope you guys have a good lunar eclipse. It is election day in the United States, so everyone just take lots of deep breaths. You know, stay grounded. It is in Taurus. Like, ground this new energy in. The more you're grounded and the more things, you know, fall away, the more you're able to be like, okay, good. Okay, good. We don't need that anymore. Okay, now let's start from where we are now. Let's nurture this and let's make this thrivable. All right, you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. You can reach out with me on Instagram or my YouTube channel. And I will probably see you in a few days for the 11/11 portal.